Hello and welcome to episode 14 in my series 100 Casts, in which I will be casting over 100 games of League of Legends sent in to me by viewers and friends. If you'd like to have your replay featured in this series, simply look in the description. There's instructions there upon how to accomplish that. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Have a good one. Alrighty, let's get into this one, shall we? On the blue side, as far as comps go, we have a Kassadin going to be in the mid lane, and Aurelia in the top, Lucian and Thresh in the bot lane, and Udyr in the jungle, who actually, I just noticed, has biscuits instead of health potions, opting to go fairly deep into that utility tree as Udyr in the jungle, which is certainly something an Udyr can do if he feels like doing it. On the purple team, we have a Master Yi in the top lane, and actually a Riven in the jungle. I expected them to be swapped, but I noticed that the Riven had a smite, so I did put her in the correct place on the scoreboard there. But yes, that is a Master Yi top, bringing teleport up to that lane, and a Riven, of course, bringing smite into the jungle, as well as a Graves and Nami in the bot lane. Quite a heavy burst lane there for purple team, the Graves contributing a lot of burst, doing what Graves does best, and the Nami contributing some with that high base damage on ebb and flow, the W for Nami, which will heal herself or an ally, or multiple allies, as well as damage an enemy. And then in the mid lane, we have an Ahri, who is actually bringing exhaust. There's not a single ignite on purple team, which might cause a bit of a problem, especially against the high sustain champion of Aurelia. Though they could certainly manage to get by, and having two exhausts does mean it's going to be very difficult for Kassadin to be assassinating anyone, seeing as when he rift walks in, there's more than likely going to be an exhaust up for purple team to mitigate most of his damage there and keep him from killing anyone too quickly. Also going with the utility tree, as I mentioned earlier for Udyr, is Kassadin on blue team. In fact, the champion which I expected to go deep into the utility tree, the Thresh, is the only one who has not. I say only, actually there's two other members as well, but the only one out of all the champions that could really have effectively done so on blue team, which has not. The Thresh opting to go instead, probably further into the defense tree, or maybe even the offense tree, and not getting those biscuits, as we see the Udyr starting off at his red buff, going to be starting that buff because it's closer to his bot lane, gets more assistance on the leash there, Riven doing the same thing, going to be starting her blue buff, so not the same buff, but the same sort of thing, taking the buff closer to the bot lane so that she gets more of a leash and a quicker start, because two people can leash faster than one. The Graves trading with the Lucian there, going to get Tidecaller's Blessing, Nami choosing to take that first. The Graves doing a lot of damage to him. The exhaust going down on the Lucian. This is a level 1 fight down in bot lane. The Graves himself getting exhausted as well. The Graves getting his buckshot cooldown back up in time to drop another one onto the Lucian, but the Lucian survives as he runs away from the Graves, and Thresh finishes off the kill on the Graves, who was taking a lot of minion aggro during that whole fight. And that is first blood going over to blue team. Thresh picking that up for himself. That's certainly going to be helpful, going to be able to get him that Sightstone a lot earlier, and possibly even finish it off the Talisman of Ascension, which he seems to be building with that ancient coin in his inventory a lot more quickly as well. Swapping up to the top lane, Master Yi's alpha striking in onto this Aurelia, who stuns him and then flashes away under the tower, very low on health. Master Yi, using his emote spam to taunt her as she does so, is going to be coming forward, flashing under the tower and alpha striking, getting the kill there and escaping with barely any health. But Udyr is here, going to pop the Phoenix form, run up next to the Master Yi, and without even auto-attacking him, bring him down. The AoE damage from the Phoenix form, little circle of fire there on the activation being enough damage to bring down the Master Yi, who did take a few turret shots in his dive into that Aurelia there, and that gives a kill over to Udyr in one of the most hilarious ways he could have possibly gotten that kill. I think that was quite funny to watch. And we swap back over to the mid lane, where the Ahri is predictably winning the early levels here, having the ranged advantage against a Kassadin. But Kassadin, being able to scale quite well into the late game, is going to be happy just to get whatever farm he can manage to. weaving in and out of the harass, the auto attacks, and the Q harass from that Ahri. The Lucian coming back to lane and getting bubbled by the Nami, taking quite a bit of burst damage from the Nami's ebb and flow, and a buckshot from the Graves. A duel going on down again in the bot lane. Thresh throwing out the lantern to shield off the Lucian from that last auto attack, which would have killed him. The Graves trying to flash forward under tower to get that last auto attack, takes a tower hit and goes nearly down himself. As we swap over to mid lane where the Cassian's getting exhausted by the Ahri, he's going to use his Q to get the spell damage shield, but those auto attacks are not spell damage, and he's low enough that an auto attack does take him out from the Ahri. That is a kill going over to Ahri as Thresh gains another kill onto the Graves again in the bot lane, who just is going really, really ham in this lane and is paying for it with his life multiple times. As in the top lane, the Master Yi Alpha strikes in onto the Irelia, who then stuns him. He came a little bit too close to tower, takes a tower hit, tries to flash away, but gets ignited and then goes down to the Irelia while standing in that bush, just waiting for the ignite tick, seeing if it'll kill him, and it does indeed. He goes down. The Irelia getting a kill to even out that lane now. It is 1-1 for Irelia and 1-2 for Master Yi, who went down to the Udyr earlier as well after getting his kill under the tower against the Irelia. The Udyr choosing to go with both a Madreds and a Spirit Stone, going to be clearing those jungle camps very quickly as we see the Lucian dashing in, avoiding the bubble, but taking a ton of damage from the Graves, who has come back into lane at full health, going to take him down with that Tidecaller's Blessing, helping him to slow him and keep him in range for the continual auto attacks. As the Thresh now, going back under his tower, going to land an auto attack onto the Nami, who nearly goes down to some tower hits. The Riven is in lane, going to be diving under that tower as well, nearly going down. Also, the Udyr, with those two jungle items, is able to take an early dragon while all of this is happening, and that is a dragon going over to blue team, and now they have just over 1,000 gold in the lead, about 1.3k, I'd say. Yes, that's exactly how much they have in the lead. And Udyr getting a sneaky dragon there early in the game, taking the two items that enhance damage against minions and monsters in the jungle so that he can quickly take the dragon very effectively. He's going to not do quite as much damage to enemy champions, but his goal is to control the jungle in this game, it seems, as he goes with the Spirit Stone and the Madreds. The Ahri having 6 in the lane here before the Kassadin does might be able to make something happen, as Graves nearly getting his recall interrupted by the Thresh there. Would have probably been his death if it had happened, but thankfully he finished the recall in time. Up in the top lane, the Irelia and the Master Yi trading. The Master Yi popping his Meditate to heal after the trade is going to come out on top in that little trade there. The Ahri landing auto attack after auto attack onto the Kassadin, who's brought below half health here, going to be eating both of those delicious biscuits in his inventory. Hopefully he can regen some of that health in time so that he can get level 6 before the Ahri gets an opportunity to use the level advantage she has to bring it to bear and take a kill possibly on the Kassadin, or maybe just force him out of lane and gain even more of a farm advantage. She does have a 13 CS advantage there in that lane. The Graves dashing in, getting Tidecaller's Blessing. The Lucian dashing towards him and getting bubbled though by the Nami. Both AD carries going to about an equal amount of health, but the Nami being alive is still going to be able to heal up the Graves, and she is at quite a good health bar herself, so I think purple side really came off for the better in that trade there down in the bot lane. The Thresh going to drop a pink ward into the lane brush in bot lane to clear out the vision in that bush and make it a lot easier for him to land hooks. As the Irelia is going in onto the Master Yi up in the top lane, probably did not correctly estimate how much damage she could put out, though, and how much time she could put it out in, as Thresh lands a hook onto the Nami down here in the bot lane. Nami nearly going down, does manage to cast Ebb and Flow on herself, though, in time to save her own life and exhaust the Lucian to make that last auto attack not kill her. Lucian walking back onto the lantern, gets the shield, and then heals just in time to survive the Graves burst, but the last auto attack there from the Graves able to take out the Lucian. And then the Graves goes down to minion aggro with barely any health left. He was trying to run away, but a few minions decided that that was not going to happen and seal his fate with a few auto attacks from the ranged minions there, following him out of the lane into that brush. And that is a 1-for-1 trade down in the bot lane. The Master Yi up here in the top lane, choosing to go with a 3 Doran's Blade build, really going for the early game here. Going to be Alva striking in, doing a bunch of damage to the Irelia. The Irelia pops her ult to help clear the minion wave, as well as harass the Yi. The Yi goes into Meditate to mitigate some of that harass from the Irelia ult. And the Irelia, low on mana here, probably just going to look to keep farming and not engage on the Yi, because she does not have the mana for a sustained fight here. She does stun the Yi under tower, though. If he tower dives, it might be a different story. This Yi gets stunned under tower, then ignited. He has to flash away. The Irelia flashes after him, gets one more auto attack, but is not quite enough damage to take him down, as the Yi is forced to back at this point. He does not have teleport up, so it's going to take him a while to come back to lane. Actually, he cancels the recall. Does he stay up in that lane? When the camera swaps back over there, we will find out. as he is pushing the lane up there, as the Ahri throwing out the charm in the mid lane at the Kassadin, who does manage to sidestep it. Thankfully, he was at a low amount of health and could possibly have spelled his death if he had been hit by that. He's being constantly harassed by the auto attacks from this Ahri, as well as occasional orbs of deception landing on him. The Lucian staying ahead of that Nami bubble, going to try and land some poke onto the enemy bot lane. Does not get the lantern in time, though. It times out before he can take it away, but he does manage to stay alive here, dropping the culling onto the Nami and the Graves. The Nami getting poked down very quickly by the Lucian, does land a final bubble before going down, allowing Graves to take out the Lucian after she dies, and then Graves quick draws away. Out of mana, though, I don't think he wants to fight with this Thresh any longer, and that is another 1-for-1 trade in this bot lane, which has been so hectic all game, with many, many deaths going down on both sides. The Lucian having 3 and the Graves having 3. Thresh, the one seeming to come out ahead the most in this matchup, being 3-0 at this point in the game. As we see Kassadin rift walking in onto the Ahri, still not managing to trade very effectively with her, though. The Thresh going to be harassing the Graves, who, even though he's nearly out of mana and low on health, has decided to stay in this lane. Might be to his detriment, as the Thresh is there and does have some decent damage, being 3-0, does have a lot of levels. The Kassadin rift walks over the Ahri charm, but gets exhausted, is forced to flash away. The Ahri popping her ult is going to spend it to try and chase after the Kassadin, does manage to get him, and then is running away from the Udyr, who has shown up in this lane to try and help out his Kassadin. It's too late to help him out, but maybe he could avenge him, as we swap up to the top lane where Aurelia and Master Yi are dueling it out. The Aurelia getting the stun at Master Yi. The Ahri still kiting around this Udyr, does miss the charm, but Riven is here to help her out now, and Riven finalizes that kill onto Udyr as Aurelia finalizes the kill onto Master Yi in the top lane. This is an incredibly action-packed game, and an incredibly even one as well, being 7-7 on kills. Both teams having an equal amount of kills there, which is what I just said. I really didn't need to repeat myself. That was a bit of a redundant phrase. As in the mid lane, the Riven and Ahri having won that duel with the Udyr, and the Kassadin do push up the lane and take the mid tower. The Kassadin rift walking forward onto the Ahri, nearly going to take her out. In fact, does take her out, and he's going to get rift walk back up in time to run away from this Riven. Yes, he does. He gets back to the safety of his still standing second mid tower in the mid lane, and manages to pick off a cheeky kill there on the Ahri as she was trying to base in the middle of the lane, a bit too close to the Kassadin, who had just come back from having been in base himself. The Udyr, finding the Riven in his jungle, is going to start dueling her. Udyr being quite a good duelist, able to spam out all those stances, going to be chasing up to her, but the Riven does manage to key strike and stun him before he can reach for a bear stance stun, and the Riven does manage to escape, only taking some harass for her trouble, as the Graves gets hooked on and then exhausted. Thresh drops his ult, the box, and the Graves walks into the wall of it as Lucian gets exhausted as well. Lucian popping the heal for that speed boost as well as a bit of health to be able to tower dive. Does manage to get away from the tower before it takes him out. He nearly goes down as Riven has shown up now, and Nami and Riven are on the chase onto this Lucian. The Nami going to land the bubble onto the Lucian and throw out a Tidecaller Blessing empowered auto attack to get the kill there on the Lucian, as Thresh is now in a bit of trouble. The Kassadin, though, has roamed down from the mid lane, going to kill that Ahri. The Thresh flaying the Riven under tower is going to get shut down by the Riven, but Kassadin then picks up the kill on the Riven, who had taken a few too many tower shots to be able to survive the Kassadin's roam down. And that is a double kill for Kassadin. He's certainly going to like that, because his lane up until this point has been fairly difficult, and he really needed that to get back in the game and get rolling. It looks like he's going to be going for the Lichbane item first, actually. He's bought a Sheen already, though he has a Ruby Crystal as well, as we see the Ahri diving onto the Udyr here. The Udyr not going down, nearly dying, as the Ahri also nearly dies to 3 consecutive tower hits, as well as the Bear Stance and a few Phoenix Stance auto attacks from Udyr. The Ahri now in incredibly low health in enemy territory, going to start backing near the blue buff, but Aurelia has shown up. Ahri lands a wonderful charm onto Aurelia as she dashes forward, but it's not going to be enough. Aurelia's ult is up, and she lands a few of those flying blades onto the Ahri and gets the kill there. Ahri nearly taking out the Udyr, but not managing to do so, and then dying in enemy territory to the Aurelia, who is now 3-1 in this top lane, coming back from that early level disadvantage against the Master Yi to certainly do well for herself in this lane, having that Phage already look like she's going for the Triforce, as the Graves actually whiffs the collateral damage, his ult down here in the bot lane. The Thresh whiffs his own hook in return, as Nami has shown up to try and help her AD carry, but it's too little too late. She might be able to get some revenge, though. Master Yi is teleported down to the bot lane. Popping Highlander is going to run in onto the Lucian and take him out. Now has Tidecaller Blessing from the Nami to slow down this Thresh, going to be running under tower. The Nami uses Tidal Wave to slow the Thresh even further and secure the kill for the for the Master Yi, who is now being chased by an Udyr, but the Udyr just going to sit there and farm some minions because the Master Yi is just too quick for him to catch, especially with the speed buffs from Nami, keeping him ahead of that man-bear, bird-pig, tiger-lion creature. Up at the top lane, though, the Aurelia is taking advantage of the Master Yi having teleported away, and is auto-attacking this turret, going to take it down to about half health before her minion wave dies, and she is forced to back away. Kassadin has roamed down to the bot lane, but Riven proves too mobile a target for him to be able to pick up that kill. Riven does take a bit of damage from it, goes down to about half health, or maybe a little bit less, but manages to survive, so no kill for Kassadin. He is going for the Rod of Ages, it seems, before finishing that Lichbane, which I mentioned earlier. Just going to be buying the Sheen before picking up the component items for the Rod of Ages, and I'm assuming he's going to be completing that as quickly as possible, since it is a good idea to get that item rolling early on in the game because it stacks up the longer you own it. As Thresh gets bubbled by the Nami, misses the hook onto the Graves, throws out the Lantern to try and shield his AD carry, lands the Flay on the Graves. The Graves, though, with collateral damage and a buckshot, going to do tons of burst to the Lucian. As we see in the mid lane, the Ahri and the Riven are going to shut down the Kassadin, as Thresh is pinging for assistance, but no one is around to help him. He does not land the hook onto the Graves. The Graves just barely sidestepping to the left out of range of that one, as the Nami then turns around to land the bubble on the Thresh. The Graves dashing over the wall, nearly going to go down to the box, does then go down to the Flay-empowered auto attack from the Thresh, who picks up another kill for himself, is at 4-2 in this game. Meanwhile, his AD carry is sitting at 2-6, so it's hard to say who's the real carry in this bot lane, as we see Thresh landing a hook onto the Nami, going to be flaying her back, doing lots of damage, probably max Flay first for that empowered auto attack damage, as well as the extra damage on the Flay, as Udyr gets caught by the Ahri, who flashes forward and charms him back towards herself and the Riven, getting that kill onto the Udyr as Master Yi is alpha striking in onto this Aurelia. Pops his ult, looks like he wants to dive, but he just gets Aurelia's flash for his troubles. She gets back under the safety of her turret, but Highlander for flash is certainly a worthy trade, as I believe at rank 1, which is what I think Master Yi has it at right now. Highlander's cooldown is somewhere just over a minute, whereas flash is 5. The Master Yi going to walk under the tower, and an auto attack the Aurelia gets ignited and stunned under tower, though, and is forced to flash away as Aurelia is going to chase after him. He goes into meditate to try and mitigate some of that damage. Alpha strikes, nearly kills her with the Alpha Strike, but both parties there in the top lane going to be too afraid to continue to duel. Either one of them one auto attack away from death, but the Master Yi is going to be sustaining up the minions here and forcing the Aurelia to cancel her recall as he gets dangerously close to her. Could have Alpha Striked in if he had even been a few steps further up. The Thresh down in the bot lane, missing the Flay but not missing the hook, as Kassadin is here to help them take out this Graves. The Graves using his heal, but not really going to be able to survive despite using that summoner, and does go down, giving Kassadin another kill, putting him at 4-3, and he does have his Rod of Ages completed at this point. That's going to start stacking up, and Kassadin is only going to be getting stronger at this point. Returning to the Master Yi's build, which I commented on earlier because he had 3 Doran's Blades, he has sold one of those and gone with a Doran's Shield at this point to mitigate some of the damage from the Aurelia, as Udyr finds Riven in her jungle near the Golem camp. Riven's going to pop ult and stun the Udyr, start chasing after him, dash forward and stun him again a little while later, land the 3rd proc of Broken Wings, and then with the activated portion of her ultimate is going to secure that kill. Ahri coming up to try and help her, but the help was not needed as Ahri now pops her ult to try and escape from this Aurelia. Does manage to escape, but that is an ult down only for Aurelia's time here towards the mid lane. So Kassadin's certainly going to be happy with Ahri's ult being down because of that. Kassadin able to harass the Ahri back now with his Q, but the Ahri landing a bunch of damage onto the Kassadin there, both procs of the Orb of Deception landing as it hits at just about max range, nearly instantly proccing both the magic damage and the true damage. And the Ahri with the double buffs here is going to be walking up towards the Kassadin. A teleport, though, is coming in on the mid lane. It's going to be Udyr there, who's going to be rushing forward at the Ahri, going high speeds. The Kassadin, though, getting charmed immediately after Rift Walking, then ignited, takes a whole bunch of burst damage from the Riven, who has shown up here in the mid lane, as well as the Ahri, and he goes down. The Master Yi in the top lane, biting off a bit more than he can chew in this one-on-one duel with the Aurelia, who has completed her Trinity Force at this point and has quite a power spike for herself. The Udyr goes down as well in the mid lane to the Ahri, kills happening all over the map, as the Lucian nearly going down to the collateral damage. Thresh being incredibly tanky, though, is still in the middle of both members of bot lane's team comp. The Graves flashes forward with Tide Caller's Blessing, enhanced auto attack, and a buckshot going to take out the Lucian. Then the Thresh gets exhausted, so he can't finalize the kill onto the Graves, and that is a kill going over to purple team down in the bot lane with nothing answered back, as Ahri in the mid lane is going to be taking out that turret, just starts basing and lets the minions finish it off. And that is finally a bit of a lull in the action, though I might be a liar here, as the Aurelia is going to land a slow onto the Riven, dash forward onto her after Riven uses one of her dashes away, but the Riven has many more dashes than an Aurelia does, and does manage to escape, only taking some harass for her troubles, as the Aurelia is certainly ahead up in this top lane now, being 4-1 and completing that Triforce now to the Master Yi, who has yet to complete a whole item, having bought lots of those Doran's items early on in the game, is now a little bit behind in terms of items, possibly because he didn't stack up the early advantage as much as he thought he might be able to do, and has both a Zeal and a Bilgewater Cutlass, but has not completed either the Blade of the Ruined King, which he is likely getting, or the Static Shiv, which he probably is getting out of that Zeal. Pings for assist coming down from the Udyr on the Dragon Pit, where he is once again doing the Dragon. Still has both of those jungle items, having upgraded the Madreds into a Wriggles, and the Spirit Stone just staying where it was as a Spirit Stone, but multiple members of Purple Team have found him doing this Dragon. Thresh throws the Lantern over the wall to try and save him. He's not able to click on it, though, as multiple members of Purple Team are going to be standing on it and stopping him from doing so. The Master Yi, having teleported down, finds this Kassadin. The Kassadin, though, Rift Walks and flashes away. Master Yi still in Highlander, might be able to catch up to him, does Alpha Strike to him and lands that auto attack under the tower. He tower dove to get him, and now he's stuck in the enemy's base with the Aurelia and the Thresh there chasing after him, as down in the bot lane, Lucian's a bit alone against 3 members of Purple Team under his tower. Does go down. Can Thresh and Aurelia get a kill back here for their team onto this Master Yi? Udyr, though, earlier did manage to land the smite onto the dragon and took that out, as Thresh finalizes the kill there onto the Master Yi, and that is a 5-2 Thresh here for blue team, as Aurelia has found a pink ward for purple team in the bush and starts taking it out, but purple team does not want that pink ward to die. They send multiple members to stop her from getting it. One of them goes down. The Nami does go down to the Aurelia, but the Aurelia goes down in the end. She's not quite tanky enough to survive. 3 members of purple team all trying to take her out at the same time, as Graves, with that Bloodthirster completed, as well as a Brutalizer, has a lot of AD and is going to be taking out that turret in the bot lane, giving purple team the turret lead 3-2. So that is a dragon going over to blue team, and a turret going over to purple, and a lot of kills. I can't even recall how many happened on which teams, but in the end, purple team is up in kills as well as turrets, whereas blue team did manage to secure that dragon for themselves, so they aren't too far behind, only being about 1.4k in the hole at this point. Riven going to be going towards her blue buff, probably going to be given that to the Nami, not the Nami, the Ahri, who is pinging that she's on her way, going to be taking that with the Foxfire and an Orb of Deception. Now Ahri has a blue buff in the mid lane, certainly going to help her out against that Kassadin. Sorry about that little glitch there, if you saw that. Something to do with the replay client. Sometimes champions will bug through walls, but it doesn't happen too often, and I didn't think that it ruined the replay enough that I had to find a new one. So in the top lane, we have Master Yi forced to pop Highlander and then Flash to get away from this Udyr gank, as Thresh lands a hook onto the Nami, flays her, but Ahri is going to be spirit rushing forward onto the Lucian, who gets taken out. Nami getting that last auto attack, sneaking it in there right after Ahri did like 95% of the damage there. That is a kill secured, though. Kill secured, of course, not a kill steal. Chaos stands for kill secure. As up in the top lane, the Udyr is going to be 1v1ing the Master Yi. Udyr, being a master of the 1v1, is going to be finding himself in a good situation there, but the rest of his team is not in a good situation down in the mid lane, where Aurelia is now in a 1v4 against 4 members of the purple team and has less than 100 health to work with here, as her friendly Thresh goes down to the grave. Ahri going to flash over the wall and land the charm onto the Aurelia and secure that kill there for purple team. Meanwhile, Master Yi did manage to survive the 1-on-1 with the Udyr, and so Udyr not going to be able to get anything up in the top lane despite his team going down in the mid lane. That is certainly going to be an advantage for purple team here, as it looks like blue team is getting more and more into a bit of a pit. The Graves might be a bit caught out here against the Lucian and the Kassadin. Lucian nearly going down, though, managing to dodge that bubble with the speed buff from heal, does survive. And the Graves also survives, managing to get away because the Lucian went quite low, dashing into 2 enemies there and taking a lot of damage in return. Up in the top lane, Udyr going to be split pushing his heart's content. He does have teleport up, so if his team gets into dire situations, he might be able to help them with that. And the Ahri getting hit by the majority of the culling there, Lucian dashing to make sure that the last little bit of it hits. But Ahri hitting the very edge of the Orb of Deception after landing the charm onto the Lucian and getting that bonus damage that charm procs, going to finish the kill on the Lucian there. That was the max range Orb of Deception, very nice from the Ahri. As you see in the top lane, Udyr going to be running after this Yi again, stuns him up, goes into Phoenix stance. The Yi going into Meditate to try and mitigate some of that damage, though he doesn't have very much mana left, so I don't think he can really survive this for much longer. But Ahri getting dove by 3 members of blue team does a lot of burst onto the Aurelia before she goes down, though, and the Aurelia does go down in the end to the Riven, who shows up after the Ahri goes down and takes vengeance for her death. As we see 2 members of purple team and 2 members of blue team in the mid lane, the Kassadin Rift walking out and then walking back in to drop his slow onto the Riven, but does not realize that the Riven's ult active is still up, perhaps, as he does go down to that, and then the Thresh, not having anyone to back him up and not having enough damage really to do anything himself, does go down for the double kill for Riven, and the Graves just kind of finding Udyr at low health backing in one of the bushes in his jungle, just tags him with an auto attack and gets the kill right there with the crit. That was a little silly looking, just that one auto attack, done. Just right click, done. Nothing to it, just right click, get the kill. Easy, free. Graves certainly going to be happy with that. Master Yi returning to top lane with a red buff now, going to be pushing out this with Alpha Strike and that Static Shiv, which he has completed. Still not completed the Blade of the Ruined King, though, opting to go with the Static Shiv first before he finishes that. The Udyr has finished his Feral Flare and seems like he's working on a Triforce. He has a Sheen and a Phage, so it looks like he's going to be going for a fairly high damage Udyr build, at least early on in the game, with a good amount of attack speed from the Feral Flare and the Trinity Force. As the Ahri gets hooked by the Thresh, the Lucian down in the bot lane dueling with the Riven manages to kite her out and flashes the second proc of the Riven ulti, getting the shutdown there, and the Riven outplaying her very nicely there with that well-timed flash to dodge the proc on her ult. He also dashes away from the buckshot and the collateral damage from Graves, just doing a lot of really good positioning from this Lucian in these last few minutes in this in the one or two duels that he did just complete. As the Nami gets a bit caught out here by the Thresh, who throws a lantern down to the Kassadin to bring him into the fight. The Nami forced to use Tidal Wave to try and escape. The Ahri, though, had a pink ward in that brush and knew no one could see her, sat in it and waited until Thresh was a bit separated from the rest of his team, and using the DFG and a bunch of burst from her charm, as well as the Orb of Deception, does manage to get a kill for herself, putting herself at 8-3 in this game. She's doing very well for herself coming out of that mid lane matchup against the Kassadin. As we see, speaking of Kassadin, he rift walks in onto the Graves, who was stunned up by the Udyr, who came in behind, but they have tons of damage, purple team does, and they manage to take out everyone, giving a triple kill to Ahri, only Graves going down. Nearly survived that, actually. The well-timed ebb and flow from Nami nearly saving his life, but not quite enough. However, they did trade off 3 kills for his 1 death, so he can't be too unhappy with that, especially since 3 kills did go onto the Ahri. The Riven diving under tower onto the Aurelia doesn't realize, perhaps, how much damage a Blade of the Ruined King Triforce Aurelia can put out in quite a short amount of time, and does go down to the combined damage of the Aurelia and the tower. But the Aurelia herself then goes down to the rest of Purple Team, who follow up perhaps a bit too late onto the Riven's dive. Not too late to get the kill, but a bit too late to save the Riven's life, as Lucian has respawned now, landing a lot of the culling onto the Nami, but the Nami does land a very nice bubble onto the Lucian to save her life, but the Lucian pops heal for the speed buff to try and chase after the remaining fragments of Purple Team. He gets hit by a lot of damage from Ahri, who's very, very powerful at the moment, and lands the charm in the Orb of Deception, and Master Yi tries to get in onto him, but the Master Yi gets stunned up by the Udyr, and Lucian gets himself a shutdown onto the Ahri shortly after the Master Yi falls. The Nami landing a decent bubble onto the Kassadin there, but I don't think it's going to be enough to save her. The Graves coming in to try and save her life, does get hooked by the Thresh though, and then stunned by the Udyr. The Thresh nearly going down to the damage from Graves after he comes out from all of that chain CC, but he just doesn't have quite enough burst to take out the very tanky Thresh, who has a Randuin's Omen already, as well as all of that armor stacked up from the souls that he's gotten throughout this game. So he does not go down, he just barely survives. And blue team is going to take advantage of the man advantage on the map here to go up mid lane and get that outer turret in the mid lane. They now have finally secured every outer turret on the map for themselves at a 3-to-3 turret at a 3-to-3 turret score on the board for both teams. Though it looks like it's going to be 4-to-3 at this point, as blue team does manage to push up to the second tower in mid lane, and Lucian here with the double buffs going to be attacking that dragon, dashing all over the place to reset his passive cooldown, and he's going to manage to take that dragon since purple team does not have any vision on it at all, as Udyr in the enemy jungle going to be taking that red buff. The Aurelia chasing onto the Master Yi. This is just catch after catch for blue team, though it looks like it might be turning in purple team's favor here, as they do get a kill onto the Kassadin. The Aurelia now deep in enemy territory under that inhibitor turret, going after the Master Yi, who is still alive, barely managing to survive, spams the taunt at Aurelia as she goes down to the collateral damage from Graves, who has come up with the rest of his team to help out his Master Yi, and gotten that kill there onto the Aurelia. That was quite a dive from the Aurelia. She went very deep, all the way to the inhibitor turret there. Just nearly getting Yi 3 or 4 times there, but never quite being able to finalize the kill. So we see most of blue team returning to their jungle to farm that up. It's about a moderate gold lead for purple team, maybe 1 to 2k gold, but that's the most either team in this match has been able to gain in terms of a lead. Only 1 to 3,000 gold at any given point during the match. It's been a very close match all along. Despite purple team having a good kill lead, blue team does have a turret up on them as well as multiple dragons. The Ahri getting hooked by the Thresh here, but the Thresh not having enough backup to keep going on that, and not knowing where most of purple team is, does not want to keep chasing onto that. Gets pinged to be careful from the Lucian, who does realize that the rest of purple team could have been right around that corner. The Riven getting hooked by the Thresh, and the duration of the hook is long enough for Lucian to put out enough burst that the Riven runs away. The Ahri then has her ult forced out as she is caught out a little bit by the blue team. Caught out a lot, I should say, as she goes down to the Kassadin, who rift walks onto her and bursts her down. The Kassadin now having the components for a death cap, as well as that stacked up Rod of Ages and a Lichbane, is doing quite a burst of damage as the Nami gets hooked there by the Thresh, and that is the doom of Nami, writhing like a fish on a hook there. She does go down for the kill, as blue team now going to push up the mid lane, get the inhibitor turret, and looks like they have 5 members of their team here, and so it looks like they're going to be getting that inhibitor as well. Aurelia getting the kill credit there for herself, as well as that extra 50 gold the kill credit on an inhibitor does give you, as well as on the Nexus. You actually get 50 gold for killing the Nexus, which I always thought was a little bit tongue-in-cheek by Riot, giving you gold for ending the game, as the Master Yi is behind most of blue team here and is forced to pop his Highlander. Does get the Lucian to flash after him and use Yumu's. He avoids a few more bullets from the culling that would have killed him. He's still alive, but the Ardent Blaze across the wall at max range from the Lucian does manage to secure the kill on the Master Yi. That gives another kill across the Lucian, who is 6 and 11 at this point, coming back into this game. Does have a Blade of the Rune King, Yumu's, and Trinity Force completed. Trinity Force being a very popular item for blue team in this match, with 2 members of it already having it built and 1 more member looking to buy it, with the Aurelia and the Lucian having it done and the Udyr having the components of it. The Thresh finding a pink ward from purple team is going to take that out in that ever so popular pink ward bush, the tiny little bush that's by both Baron and Dragon, lovingly known as the Death Bush by some LCS casters, if I recall correctly, as super minions are pushing up the mid lane for blue team, and Ahri is doing her best to deal with those, doing a lot of damage to them with the Orb of Deception, throwing it across the wave, though she's forced to use more than just that to take out a super minion, which are quite tanky little beasts. As Nami's going to sweep out a ward, take out some vision for blue team in that jungle there. The Lucian perhaps misestimating the range on the culling is going to throw it out at the Ahri to try and land some poke onto her, but she just simply steps back a few paces and avoids nearly the entire thing. As the Master Yi teleports in with home guards, and the ult active rushes in onto Lucian, does a bunch of damage to him, but does not manage to take him out before going down to the combined CC of blue team. Udyr's down here in the bot lane, going to be split pushing between the turrets, as Riven is going down there to deal with him. But 3 members of purple team are here in the mid lane, caught out against 4 from blue team. The Udyr, though, finds Nami in the jungle, does not want to start an engage on her, does realize that she probably has more friends nearby. She does indeed, in the form of Riven and Ahri. The Udyr managing with his incredible speed, though, to dodge out that bubble. The Aurelia taking a charm and a DFG to the face, going to be taking a lot of damage from the Orb of Deception, which immediately hits right afterwards. The Ahri being forced to pop her ult, though, to be able to escape the Aurelia after the charm fizzles. And Thresh's hook then fizzles on the Banshee's Veil that Nami has completed. Thresh landing a flay onto multiple members of Purple Team, as in the top lane, the Lucian has been split pushing this whole time and does get an inner turret for himself. He's up against a Master Yi, though, as Aurelia flashes over the wall and slows down the Graves, then stuns him. Just stuns the Graves, and then lands the Ignite and a few procs of her ult onto him, and manages to secure that kill with the Ignite even after he flashes away. The Udyr then goes down to the Riven. Actually, the Ahri landing the last auto attack there to take that kill, as Aurelia, being low on health now after diving there into that kill, is getting tidal waved by the Nami, but does not go down, manages to sustain through the damage of Nami and Riven, getting a double kill for Kassadin there, as the Lucian is in a one-on-one here with Master Yi, throws out his Ardent Blaze in the wrong direction, though I doubt it would have saved him even if it had hit. Master Yi, being very good at taking out AD carries if they are all alone, does manage to get that kill for himself. Goes down, no, does not go down to the Kassadin. Alpha strikes away to a blue side minion that was conveniently located for him to escape to, gets away with only about 100 health left in his health bar, and manages to live to fight another day. Blue team, though, does have this inhibitor down in the mid lane, and I believe came out on top in terms of kills there, and they are on top certainly in terms of gold now, with a 6-3 turret advantage and a 3,000 gold advantage up there on the scoreboard for themselves. Some pings going down onto Baron, Master Yi running over towards it. No, actually, he's just going to his red buff, but they do want to get some vision on that. Neither team actually having vision on the pit. Either team could go for it and try to sneak a quick Baron before the enemy team could come and realize what they're doing. Ahri, though, going to drop the Trinket Ward over the wall, as two members of Blue Team are down on the other side of the map doing the Dragon. Going to be getting a bit more of a gold lead for Blue side, as Udyr does smite that out, but that is smite down, so if Purple Team realizes that, they didn't actually have any vision on Dragons, so they have no way of knowing that, but if they did know that, they might be going for a Baron at this point. As the Riven gets a bit caught out in the jungle here by the Aurelia and the Udyr, I don't think... Actually, she has Flash. She might be able to survive this. She has Flash, and then she uses the Shield Dash to get away from the last bit of damage from the Aurelia that would have killed her. As the Aurelia now diving in onto this Ahri. The Ahri, though, exhausts her and survives the Aurelia's burst because of it, and then turns around with the ult to take out the Aurelia. That is a kill going over to Purple Team in a situation that seriously looked like it was going to be a easy sure kill for Blue side. The Graves getting hit by a max range Thresh hook right there. That was a beautiful hook over the wall from the Thresh. He is not going to survive for very long after getting hit by that. The Kassadin getting hit by a bunch of burst from the Ahri, but the Ahri now is caught out on the wrong side of the map and goes down for the double kill over to Kassadin, as the blue team's going to push up, not even needing any minions, being tanky enough with the Thresh and the Udyr spamming turtle stance there to take out this second turret down in the bot lane, giving them a 7-3 turret advantage now. Riven, though, back with the Guardian Angel, going to be jumping in onto the Thresh and doing some damage to him, as Udyr is simply going to walk under the tower and stun that Riven, who takes quite a bit of burst from the Kassadin, as Culling goes down to clear out the minion wave so that they can get onto this inhibitor turret with blue team. Aurelia just respawned and is back at base, going to be coming up towards her teammates now with that home guard active, as the Lucian finalizes the kill onto Nami there, who got hooked under the tower by Thresh. As the Riven and Master Yi are going in on the enemy team, the Master Yi goes down and so does the Riven, but she does have a Guardian Angel, going to come back up in time now with her ult still active after coming up, and stuns out the Lucian and the Udyr, getting the double kill onto the Lucian right before going down to the Udyr, who also gets a double kill in that matchup. But they did manage to get the inhibitor turret, so that is an 8-3 turret lead on the map, as well as a 7,000 gold lead on the board for blue team, as Udyr nearly goes down to this Ahri, but being quite tanky does not go down, in fact. And Aurelia, who showed up in time to help out her friendly Udyr, does finalize that kill onto the Ahri and get a bit more gold for herself, being 11-7 at this point. Has a recurve bow. Looks like she might be working towards a Wit's End, perhaps? I'm not quite sure what she's going to be turning that into. Recurve bow being a very uncommon item. It's not built into very many things. In fact, it's used so infrequently that I'm not entirely sure what else it builds into aside from Runons and a Wit's End, if anything else. But all three Triforces for for Blue Team have been completed, the Trinity of Trinity Forces, with one on Udyr, one on Aurelia, and one on Lucian. They are all going to be able to do a good burst of damage. The Udyr going fairly heavy in damage, as I said earlier, with that Triforce and the Feral Flare, going to be able to take out this Baron, which Blue Team has started very quickly. It's melting down right now with 2 Blade of the Ruined Kings on it, as well as all of those Trinity Force procs. It goes down before Purple Team can get near enough to contest, as Thresh throws the Lantern over the wall to bring his friendly Aurelia over onto this Nami, who's very low on health at this point, going to be in quite a dangerous situation. The Lucian popping his heel to get that speed buff to chase after the enemy team, as the Blue Team, all baroned up and all at full health, are going to be coming up the mid lane now, where the inhibitor has respawned, but I don't think it's going to last for very long under the combined onslaught of the entirety of Blue Team. The Thresh positioning around, looking for that hook. Is he going to throw it out and land it on someone? No, they're just going to walk over towards this bottom lane inhibitor, which is also exposed, and take that out. 2 inhibitors now for Blue Team, as the Riven gets caught out by the Aurelia and the Udyr and goes down. The Aurelia getting the kill credit for that one. Master Yi running in onto the Lucian, nearly taking him out, but goes down to Aurelia for the double kill before he can finalize the kill. The Ahri forced to use her ult and flash just to escape after a Thresh hook landed onto her, and then Thresh lands another hook onto the Nami, pulling her off of the edge of the fountain. All 5 members of Blue Team are still up, and 2 members of Purple Team are down, and Blue Team is pushing in onto these Nexus turrets, one of them already taken down during that hubbub. As the Udyr nearly goes down, pops Turtle Stance to survive that last turret shot, which might very well have killed him. The Thresh lands the hook onto the Graves throwing collateral damage and a buckshot, but barely doing any damage with both of them to the Thresh, who has a ton of armor built up at this point with the Randuin's Omen, as well as a Chain Vest and all of that passive armor from the Souls, which have stacked up quite high at this point. He's going to be very tanky, not go down to that Graves, who does go down again. That is 4 dead right now for Purple Team, all 5 still alive for Blue side, and all 5 on this Nexus. Though it looks like, yep, one of Blue Team's going to go down, but that's a bit too little too late, Riven. She does get the kill for herself, but that is a victory for Blue Team, who pull it back in this game after being a bit behind earlier in the match, and take the win. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Many thanks to Atrix for the use of his replay. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. There's going to be a lot more. If you'd like your replay featured in the series, check out the description. There's instructions there on how to do that. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.